Hola everyone, bienvenidos to our second subjunctive video. This is going to be the subjunctive usos del subjuntivo. If we remember a couple days ago, our subjunctive video was about the basics. We talked about how it's a mood that expresses feeling towards the action. We expressed that it has the same meaning as indicative, however, is talked about in uncertain situations, hypothetical situations. We also discussed briefly the formula and how to conjugate the verbs and how we would put them in the yo, drop the o, add the opposite vowel ending. Today we're going to talk about the uses and elaborate a little bit more on the formula that we discussed a few days ago. So let's start right there with the formula. As you can see, and remember, please write down in your notes all of the stuff that is highlighted in yellow. Let's continue. So we must remember that all subjunctive sentences must be in this order. S1, V1, K, S2, V2. Subject 1, verb 1, K, subject 2, verb 2. Now, subject 1 must be different than subject 2. You can never have mi madre y mi madre or yo y yo. It has to be mi madre, subject 1, and yo, subject 2, or vice versa. There must be a K present between the two clauses. So always when you're formulating these, make sure your K is there. Now, verb 1 is in the present indicative regular present tense. We talked about present indicative briefly a couple days ago. We talked about how Mr. Indicative, he indicates reality. Verb 2 is in the present subjunctive. Yo form, drop o, add opposite vowel. This is Mr. Subjunctive, our hypothetical and uncertain situation. Now, if verb 1 is any of the following verbs expresses wants, suggestions, and or requests, and the triggers the use of the subjunctive in verb 2. So these are all of the verbs below. So decir, to say, to tell. Insistir en, to insist. Remember, you always have to have that en. Okay. Necesitar, to need. Permitir, to allow. Preferir, to prefer. Prohibir, to prohibit. Querer, to want. Recomendar, to recommend. Sugerir, to suggest. Now we have to remember that all of these are not all of the verbs who have stem changers, ida, ies. Preferir, querer, recomendar, y sugerir. Lastly, I'd like you guys to add ojalá down here in green. It's not in your notes, but we're going to briefly go over it later this week, so I'd like you to add those. Remember, all of these verbs will be in the indicative as trigger verbs or indicator verbs for the second verb 2. So let's take a look at some examples. My mom wants me to get good grades. Mi madre quiere que yo saque buenas notas. This has our S1, V1, K, S2, V2. Mi madre, S1, subject 1. Quiere, verb 1. It's in the indicative. Then we have K, subject dos, yo, y verb 2, saque, sacar. It's a QU. It still remained QUE. Saque buenas notas. This is a correct subjunctive sentence. Let's take a look at some others. I want to get good grades. Quiero sacar buenas notas. Now, what we're going to be looking for always are two subjects. So, we have here, I want to get good grades. There's only one subject, so this is not subjunctive. We can eliminate that right off of the bat. Let's look at this next one. My mom thinks that I get good grades, but I don't. Mi madre piensa que saco buenas notas, pero no las saco. Let's break this one down. Mi madre. Subject 1. Piensa. Verb 1. It even has que. And then saco is conjugated for subject 2, and it's a verb 2. So, at first you can see it looks very similar to a subjunctive sentence. However, our first verb, piensa, pensar, is not a trigger verb that requires a subjunctive in the second verb. Therefore, this sentence is not a subjunctive sentence. That's about all I have for you guys today. That's just a brief little overview on some of the uses. We're going to go in depth in class a little bit more on what the rest of these are. Okay? So stay tuned. I've got a little video I'd like you guys to watch that is going to be attached to this. So just stick around for a little bit while longer. Alright, adios.
Introducing the subjunctive. Hey, I suggest you just relax. The subjunctive is easy. All you need are your usted command forms.
I want you to pay attention. Quiero que preste atención. If you just want to say, pay attention, then you'd say, preste atención. But Spanish is a subtle language. We like to make commands sound pleasant. So we add quiero que, and then we have the subjunctive. Quiero que preste atención.
Levanten la bolsa. All right, I'll be nice. I'll add on I need. Necesito que levanten la bolsa. And make it snappy.
Traiga las llaves. Recomiendo que traiga las llaves.
To make the present subjunctive, take the yo form of the verb, drop the o, and add the subjunctive ending. The endings for AR verbs and ER or IR verbs flip-flop.
The endings for AR verbs in the subjunctive are es, hemos, es, and en. Using the verb usar, we get use, uses, use, usemos, uséis, usen.
The endings for ER and IR verbs in the subjunctive are a, as, amos, ais, and am. Using the verb comer, we get coma, comas, coma, comamos, comais, coma.
All right, gather around here. If you spot verbs like recomendar, querer, sugerir, preferir, decir, or necesitar, followed with a que, you have to use the subjunctive tense in the next part of the sentence. For example, I need to lift the bag. Necesito levantar la bolsa. That's not subjunctive. I need you to lift the bag. Necesito que tú levantes la bolsa. Now that's subjunctive.
One more thing. The subjunctive uses the same spelling changes and irregular yo forms that are found in negative command. No quiero que vengas tarde. Quiero que hagas la tarea ahora mismo.
Let's watch as renowned travel expert and radio show host Luisa uses the subjunctive tense.
Aquí Luisa, ¿cuál es su pregunta?
Quiero viajar a España.
Yo recomiendo que hable con un agente de viajes. Aquí Luisa, ¿cuál es su pregunta?
Necesito un boleto más barato.
Sugiero que compre un boleto de ida y vuelta. Aquí Luisa, ¿cuál es su pregunta?
Usted es fantástica. Quiero una cita con usted.
Prefiero que no llame más. That's all the time we have for travel radio, folks. It's time for a quiz.
Form the subjunctive using the verb in parentheses.
Viajar. Quiero que tú a España. Quiero que tú viajes a España. Estudiar. Sugerimos que ellos estudien. Llegar. Recomienda que nosotros temprano al aeropuerto. Recomienda que lleguemos temprano al aeropuerto. Leer. Prefiero que él los letreros. Prefiero que él lea los letreros.
Heads up, people. We have a lot of irregular subjunctive verbs to put in our playbook. I want to see dar, estar, ir, saber, and ser. Let's get moving.
Dar, de, des, demos, des, der. Quiero que me den la letra A. ¡Woo!
Estar. Estemos. Estéis. Estén. No quiero que esté aquí.
Ir. Vaya, vayas, vaya, vayamos, vayáis, vaya. Necesito que vayas al estadio con el toro.
Go to the stadium with the bull? Are you kidding?
Olé. Saber.
Sepa, 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 sepamos, sepáis, sepan.
Queremos que sepan las reglas.
Ser, sea, seas, sea, seamos, seáis, sean. Quiero que seas famoso como yo. That was a lot of verbs. So what are you waiting for? Get practicing. Bring me the quiz.
Form the subjunctive using the verb in parentheses.
Estar. Quiero que tú contento. Quiero que tú estés contento. Ir. Recomendamos que ustedes de vacaciones. Recomendamos que ustedes vayan de vacaciones. Ser. Tus padres prefieren que tú ordenada. Tus padres prefieren que tú seas ordenada. Dar. Sugiero que me el boleto. Sugiero que me des el boleto.